Well, hello all, and welcome to Tea with G. I guess I'll be speaking a little more softly because I really don't have my whole voice back yet, and woke up this morning to some coughing fits, and if I talk too loud or breathe too much through my mouth, I may start coughing on you, in which case I will mute and we'll all get along with it. So, happy Easter, everybody. A day that is really pretty much the centerpiece of the Christian religion. I mean, without it, there is no. Well, there would be Christianity, actually. I was kind of an amateur scholar of the Bible about, 40 years ago, maybe? Yeah, 35, 40 years ago. I was really into it for a while after my first significant spiritual experience. Being in the Midwest, it was early 70s. None of the self-help movement didn't exist. Course in Miracles hadn't been written. And in Los Angeles and New York, there were a few Zen centers, but none of that had reached the Midwest as of yet. So I just kind of sank into what I knew. And I've still held an interest in it. I've still had my own view of what Christianity is about, what the teachings of Christ are about, the character of the man Jesus, or the sage of Nazareth, Nazareth, which many scholars refer to him as. So I still pay attention to the biblical scholarship that's going on, because it seems to be more critical these days, simply because a very venomous and ugly modern cult really has emerged. In the U.S. we call it the right-wing Christian nationalists. Really should just be right-wing authoritarians who are hiding behind Christianity, using it as a justification of their lust for power. And I have many students, some of you might be here right now, who have been really severely hurt by the whole fundamentalist evangelical movement that happens in the United States, is happening in the United States and other places in the world, but mostly here. So I would like to invite today, since it is Easter, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the resurrection because it's such an important thing. But, well, I hope it's a little bit, because I had really nothing planned about it. But I really would invite questions about Christianity, the teachings of Christ, the mystical teachings, because there are many mystical schools within the various threads of Christianity. Any of you who may still be suffering some pain and some brainwashing from your upbringing, either through the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church, or modern evangelicalism. I can speak to that. I mean, there's fundamentalism, obviously, in Islam as well. I'm just not as competent to speak about that. My main exposure to that has really been through the Sufi mystics, which present a very different view, just as the Christian mystics present to Christianity. So I would welcome any such questions or help you would like to get in that regard. I just noticed Christine. CM there is one of my students, Christina, and I always tend to say, I'm going to keep it short, and then I don't. Yeah, since she's commenting about that. Thank you for the reminders, Christina. But at any rate, I'm inviting questions about it. Because, even if you're an atheist, the Bible, the teachings of the Bible, that is, the teachings of the various groups of people who used the Bible as their authority for the teachings, right? I have influenced certainly the United States as well as all of Europe in terms of our legal systems, our really our economic systems, as well as the religion. It's integrated into our entire culture, and even if you're born an atheist and you're an atheist your whole life, you can't help but be affected by the cultural impact of it. So I would invite any questions about that. The only thing I want to say is that at the center of Christianity is the notion of resurrection. Now, it has become interpreted literally as, physically the man rose from the dead. There's absolutely no evidence for any of that, for any of the Bible narratives, for even being buried in a tomb. It never happens. There's actually records from the Roman era at that time about crucifixions, and it was an act of public humiliation and deterrent for anybody else who wanted to question the authority of Rome. And so the bodies not only stayed up there till they died, they left them up there for days, weeks afterwards, until there was really nothing left of them. They just wanted the whole process to be really, don't mess with Rome. That was the message. There does seem to be evidence that such a man existed. I mean, evidence of the kind that historians and scholars, the widespread consensus is there was such a real, actual human being. My own feeling about it is that when I look at much of the things that he said, his emphasis on mercy, compassion, forgiveness, and equality, justice, over elitism and classism and power structures. It's clear to me that there was somebody who, if not enlightened, was at least saint-like. Deep inspiration, deep wisdom, because it's reflected there in the words. And the sentiment of loving your enemy, of blessing those that curse you. The meek shall inherit the earth, not the rich and powerful. Blessed are the peacemakers, that those who make peace will be referred to as the children of God, not those who make war. So contrary to our modern world that I'm convinced that such a character existed, and he may even have been an enlightened being speaking in a very unenlightened time to a very unenlightened culture. The Jewish culture, as well as the Roman culture, the Roman Empire, in which it existed. But the idea of death and resurrection has been a theme that has played out in all cultures, through all time. You see it in the Native American mythology, which is a very interesting story about how the origin of corn happened. It involves a death and a resurrection. The same thing more in the tropical areas, the Polynesian areas. A very similar story, only it's how coconuts came into being and why coconuts look like heads. Again, it's a death and resurrection story. Even the example that Christ himself used about a seed being planted in the ground and then dying and being reborn as a plant is a very common theme you'll see in agricultural societies, farming societies. When we first started getting tied to the earth, trying to control the earth rather than just walking around on it. Long prelude. The resurrection is always referred to as the birth of consciousness in the midst of unconsciousness. It's a reference to waking up, rebirth, becoming a new creature. But more than a transformation, it's like it is a new life. The word repentance, used in the Bible, it doesn't just mean I'm changing my ways and I'm going to be good now. It points to a ground level, an essential level of transformation within a character. Just a complete, total shift in character. A new being being born, like the phoenix coming out of the flames of the cremation of the previous phoenix, right? We just died. Out of the ashes come this whole new being. Yeah. And so it's been a spiritual theme forever. Yeah. If I can allow that to shed light on our approach we're taking now. The approach itself isn't modern, but our take on it in modern days. Specifically in non-duality, the whole subject of enlightenment is not somebody becoming enlightened. So I like to say, the guy in the dream doesn't wake up. It's the one having the dream who doesn't know they're dreaming. That's the one that wakes up. So we tend to think, when we hear about this thing, this wonderful thing of enlightenment and self-realization and the ultimate freedom, we think it's something that we're going to get, that we're going to experience, that we are going to be the benefactors of. And that's the essential mistake. Right? It's kind of like the caterpillar thinking they're going to be they're going to have this exciting life after they get out of the cocoon. Well, a completely different creature emerges from the cocoon. It has almost nothing to do with the caterpillar. Barely even resembles it. In fact, the fascinating thing is that the cocoon, caterpillars, like snakes, they molt their skin just much more quickly because their lifespan is only like 2-3 weeks, something like that. The cocoon is the last molting. They're molting all the skins as they grow. They get to a certain size, and when they molt, the next thing that grows is not another caterpillar skin, it's a cocoon. And inside the cocoon, everything you know of the caterpillar disappears. the entire creature turns into this slimy mush. Those of you who have gone through some kind of difficult experiences that have really put you to the test and come out the other side, you know what we're talking about, where you're just squeezed into slimy mush before something new emerges. But right within the slimy mush itself are these things they call imaginal cells, that they're kind of like the informer, the instructor, the one that guides all of this mush to reform itself. And when it reforms, it takes the shape that we now know as the butterfly. It's such a beautiful metaphor because the caterpillar does not become a new improved caterpillar. In the awakening process, even in the emotional healing process, you don't become a new and improved version of you, fixing all the bugs. You are literally transformed into a whole new being, a whole new point of reference, a whole new way of seeing. The old you disappears and a new you appears. The insight that the non-dual inquiry brings to that is that what appears to be a transformation of one thing into another is actually a revelation of what, in fact, has been there the entire time. The real you. The real you doesn't need resurrecting, doesn't need crucifying, has nothing to let go of because it has no beliefs. It does not need anything. It's not lacking anything. It can't lose anything. It is an irreducible, indivisible one. And that is your true nature, the reality of you, your being. So what emerges from the fire is not another creature, right? But a revelation of the creature, the real you that's been here the whole time. Resurrection means the waking up, the peeling away. Crucifixion represents the peeling away of everything that is not you. Use the term the death of the false sense of self, the ego, but I don't like to use that because the false sense of self is a false sense. It's not a reality. There's nothing there. It's a mistaken idea about yourself. When you realize that there's no water in a mirage, you don't mourn. You say, well, now what am I going to do? I need water. I'm thirsty. You recognize that there's never been water there, ever. And so you simply stop going in that direction. And you turn and you keep heading inward. Now the resurrection represents the full blossoming, the full awakening, the full entering into the realization of self-realization, not the full entry into nirvana. Because with the full self-realization, the rest of your human life is fulfilled. You don't just disappear. Thank God. Because if every time a being became fully enlightened, they disappeared, who would teach us? Who would show us the way? Thank God. What really happens is the sense of a false self, the personal self, the sense that I am other than the self. With that gone, the reality of yourself, the true you, the timeless you, the light of reality shines through human life. It informs human life. It makes it more harmonious. It makes it more, excuse me, makes it more fluid. It makes us more capable of love and compassion, more capable of intimacy. It removes the triggers. It removes the conditioning which does not belong to that light of pure truth, but is only a factor for the false sense of self. Now, those of you who are in my EFT classes and the like, it's okay. This is a path one follows up to that. I'm describing the end result. For those of you in level 3, I'm describing what's in the fog on the other side of the bridge. That there's just this recognition that the only thing that's ever been here in your entire life, the only thing that's ever been seeing and hearing, touching, tasting, the only thing it's ever been experiencing, the only thing it's ever been speaking, has been your true, authentic, divine self. And the wonder is that true, perfect, infinite, boundless, timeless self that you are is the same perfect, boundless, timeless self that I am. Individuality is in the appearance, but not in the essence. And when you know yourself as that, look around. That's all there is. Those are the eyes you see through. And so the caterpillar of the false sense disappears. Not any of this. All of this is good. The desert doesn't disappear with the mirage. The rope doesn't disappear when you see there's no snake there. The reality of our lives, our friends, our family, our lovers, our work, our things to do, it's all still here. But the illusion of it being separate from the whole, being something separate from yourself, antagonistic to things, the conflicts, they all do disappear. And you see things as they are, in their natural, beautiful harmony. This is what the resurrection symbolizes. If you can honor that, realize that is what the image is picturing. It's not some special event that happened to somebody to prove he was God so I can feel horrible about myself. That it was, in fact, a realization being offered to me, an image offered to me, to you, as an event that is going on right now within you. Every time we are confronted with an assumption, a belief about ourselves, and see that it is just an assumption, just a belief, that it's not the truth, all of the suffering we experienced because of that assumption suddenly makes sense. Of course I'm going to suffer under that assumption. It's not true. I'm living out a story that is not true. That suffering makes perfect sense. How can I possibly not suffer unless I'm being myself? Unless I'm at home with who I really am. So the suffering isn't seen as a punishment or some kind of cruelty, or as you've made huge mistakes or you didn't have the right vibration. You look at it and go, oh my God, of course that way leads nowhere. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's the crucifixion. The realization, oh my God, it's not me. And then the process of divesting yourself of that, because it doesn't just disappear right away. You know, when a snake molts its skin, it just doesn't come out in like a zipper, nice and neatly, like a jumpsuit. new snake, it falls off in parts, and they have to scrape themselves against rocks and go through tight places to pull it all off. So you have to pull it all off as well, so that it doesn't disappear all the way. That's the process of fully, willingly entering into the crucifixion, which is the removal of all that stuff, until finally there's just this sense of relief, of peace, of expansion, of growth. And finally, you realize that I've never been anything but the self. That's all I've ever been. And all the rest is just how it appeared. The great illusion, Maya. That's your resurrection. That's what we can celebrate every day. And especially on Easter Sunday, to acknowledge at least a great saint, if not an enlightened being, who served a function within his culture, but at the same time served a larger function of introducing into in a time that was quite primitive and brutal. The Roman Empire was brutal. The idea of loving your neighbor as yourself. All the people that want to have the 10 Commandments in the courthouse, what I would say, how about the Sermon on the Mount? Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And put it in the Pentagon. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Love your enemies. Bless those that curse you. Turn the other cheek. The meek shall inherit the earth. Yeah. I'd be happy to put some of that in our public institutions. The real teaching of Christ, and the real reason we should honor him and remember him like on a day like today. Anyone who has contributed to our spiritual welfare, right, in ways that we may not even be aware of for some time to come. There's an old Chinese saying that goes, when you're drinking the water, remember the one who dug the well. So, on that note, let's see. 28 minutes. All right, Christina, you're all right. Got me again. She said that yesterday after I thought I was going to get out at, I plan on 2 hours for the live workshops I do with the people for emotional healing. It's my level 1 and level 2 people yesterday, and it was getting right around 10 in the morning here, like before noon. I said, okay, great, I got one more. I can handle it. Next thing I know, it's like, 10 to 1? It's like an hour later. How interesting. And Christina took it upon herself to point that out to me yesterday. I'm very glad that I do not have students that are like shy and deferring and demure, They're more than willing to challenge the teacher, and I think that is a very, very good characteristic to have. Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, let me go back and say good morning to everyone. And you can't see all my flowers. I set up, get some flowers here, and these are my plants under the grow lights. Next to me, that's one of my stuffed critters. You can't see the bunny behind that one. Yeah. Mm. It's important to have stuffies. Yeah. Very important to have stuffies. It's important to have anything around your home that has meaning, important, significant heart meaning for you. And both of those do. So, Audrey. Audrey's my wonderful girl who is now helping me organizing stuff and doing a great job of it. And the point where I get very good, what am I supposed to do? And Audrey's laid it all out for me. Bless your heart. See, the angel visitants come in all sorts of different forms. Yeah. So, hello Ava and Barb. Hey guys and gals. There's Marty. Happy Easter to you. There's Ida. There's me. Sylvia. Hi Jean, everyone. From Spain. Love and greetings from us both. Oh, that's a different one. There's Sylvia and then David and Elaine. Said us both. David and Elaine. Good to see you guys. And it's Holy Week in Spain. It is in a lot of places. There's a lot of places where this is well, the U.S. doesn't honor anything. It's just another day to have sales and have commercials and advertisements all over the internet with bunnies and eggs, which are part of the fertility thing of this time of year. Are quite fun, and I'm all for fertility. Right? It is a great time of year. Fertility, the springtime in the northern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere, it's fall. It's going into winter. Holidays are really different there. Sylvia, hola, says Lisa, better late than never. I agree. Sylvia, Catholic religion was linked to the dictatorship here, but still there are processions now. The Pope is leftist, I think, anyway. Well, he's certainly further left than any of his predecessors. And, well, call it leftist. I don't really know about his politics. But I do see him attempting to move Catholicism more towards the actual teachings of Christ rather than just how do I want to put it? How it has been utilized by culture to justify authoritarianism, which is exactly what's happening here in the United States. Only it's the evangelical Christianity, not the Roman Catholic Church, but it's exactly the same thing. They want a Christian. They want a theocratic government governed by what they say the Bible means, which it doesn't. Any scholar worth his, even me, and I'm a dabbler in it now. I can see how they cherry pick, because the Bible carries a cultural authority for us, right? So this is an important book, and it is, right? Even though pretty much none of it is actually historically accurate. It is a bunch of stories, written different times under different circumstances by inspired people at the time, for their community, their people of the time. There's no predictions of things happening 2,000 years in the future and the end of days and the like. And so because it carries a cultural authority, that this is authoritative, if I can pick out the right things in it and ignore the rest or downplay them or pretend they didn't really mean that. In other words, I give this book of authority meaning, I can then point to that as the authority that what I'm saying is true and what you're saying isn't. And of course it's a means to power. And so scholars are doing a good job by saying, well, what's the context? How was it written? Who was it written by? Who was it written to? What are the words? What's the most likely thing that they were trying to say. And you find that all of our modern interpretations of what the Bible means are absolutely made up. Made up. See it all the time. Some Christian apologists just make something up. Right? I saw one notable speaker that everybody knows who just created out of thin air another definition of meek and called it, somebody who was really strong but chose not to use it. I mean, it's like, what? Nowhere in Greek or Hebrew do you ever find anything that resembles that, especially when Christ said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Nothing to do with that whatsoever. They made it up. And then looked for something to authorize it and justify it, or just went to the fact that the people they're speaking to aren't going to fact check them. But this is the world we live in now, folks. So any attempt we all can make to try to stick close to the heart of what our particular religious practice may be, to keep it pure, to try to get to the depth of what it meant, where it came from, and why it's here. The more we do that with sincerity and earnestness, the more our lives will reflect that, and will be the living examples of what it all was really meant to mean, which to me was simply the realization of who you really are. God is yet another part of us that was disowned through trauma and conditioning and all sorts of other things. And it's a word that represents the truth of you, who you actually are, the reality of your being, which is our shared reality. We are all manifestations of the same essence. We are all one. Different faces on the same soul. Enjoying both the unity and the diversity simultaneously. Being both simultaneously, which means that the essence of our being is beyond all opposites. It is neither one nor many. It is neither dual nor non-dual. It is inconceivable. It is what is. Okay. Christina, we know how it goes when we say, "I'll be quick." I love you, Christina. You're great. Barb. Oh, Daryl, I forgot. Phew. Hello, Daryl. What does Jesus have that we don't? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only difference is he didn't have anything different than you had. He didn't have some special magical power, right? He didn't have any special relationship with the ultimate. The only thing was he knew it and you don't. That's it. He knew he was one with the Father, which is the name he used to try to bring to heart, to bring home the relationship between the essence and the manifestation of the essence. Now, obviously, the manifestation would be the offspring of the essence, right? The manifestation is dependent upon something. The essence depends on nothing. So in that sense, the essence is the father of the manifestation. That the absolute is the mother of I am. Right? Because before you could even say, think, or feel that you are, you must be. But by saying they are one, we are one. I and my Father are one. If you've seen me, you have seen the Father. He was attempting to eliminate all the sense of duality, to see that it's not two. It appears as two, but it is not two. That's it. That's what realization is. That's what awakening is. That's what it means to experience, to be the kingdom of heaven. He made a very interesting statement, a really interesting statement, more than interesting, kind of a stop and say, kind of statement. He says it's in the Gospel of Thomas, and he says, he who drinks of my mouth, that is, really takes in what he has to say, what he had to say. Not what we were told what he said, not how it was interpreted, not this is what it means, but drink from his mouth. He who drinks from my mouth shall, how did he put it? Shall become as I am, and I shall be he. Now that's something worth pondering. Truly drinking from the mouth of Christ. Right? And he said, I and my Father are one. Truly drinking from the mouth of Christ, being the manifestation of the truth of your being, shall become as I am. The death, the crucifixion, the resurrection, the transformation shall become as I am. Just leave it there. It says, and I shall be he or she. Ponder it. Ponder that. He is pointing away completely from any kind of separation, any kind of being cut off, any kind that even the transformation, the apparent transformation is only apparent. Become like I am, become as I am. And I shall be he. The I he refers to is not the I of the person. It's not the I, an I identified with form. Shall become as I am. I, the sense I, and my Father are one. Right? He was not pointing towards a personal Jesus walking around, the sage of Nazareth. He was pointing beyond it to the spirit that was animating the body, and that is who he really is, that essence. I am that. I shall be he. Even said, I, greater works than he did, you'll do, because I go unto the Father. All sense of I being absorbed back into the essence, that which is the ultimate reality, the truth of being, pure self-aware existence. Because that is who you are, including this. It's not that the body, get rid of the body, get rid of the trees, get rid of the flowers, get rid of all this stuff, this, this nasty mortal stuff, this horrible, fallen, sinful. No, this is God. This is the truth. This is the manifest of the unmanifest, and you cannot separate the manifest from the unmanifest. What disappears is the idea, just the idea believed, that there's a separate entity here, that there's water in a mirage. Right? There is no separate entity here. There's the body, the form, the words, the speaking, right? But the speaking that is happening here is not coming from some person. There's not some person here. Even an inspired person taking notes of what's being revealed from on high and then speaking it out. There's no person here at all. It's just the self speaks. Now, before you go, oh my God, that's what enlightenment is like. No, the self hears. There's no person in between the what's being spoken and the one that's hearing. That's you. Right? Right? There's a belief that you're not that. There's a belief that there's somebody in between that somehow you've got to overcome to get back to who you are. But only consciousness hears. Would you agree? Unconsciousness doesn't hear, right? So, whatever consciousness is made of, it's hearing, isn't it? It's hearing the words I'm speaking right now. Now, we can have all sorts of ideas as to what that consciousness is. We can have all sorts of ideas as to the speaker is and what the words are and what they mean and all of that. But if you just look at the sheer, pure act of cognizing, right? Well, that's consciousness, isn't it? Right. Now, consciousness is here, speaking. Now, in between, there's an idea that there is a person, a personal being, some character that is separate from what is, right? But of course, there can't be anything separate from what is. So it's an illusion projected on the form, and so seeing an entity that isn't actually there, believing that the entity is the form, and so the form is separate from this form, and believing all the qualities that it's experiencing belong to that thing that it's looking at. It's like the kitten looking in the mirror, thinking it sees another kitten. Actually, you can see little kids doing that too. It takes them a minute to realize it's me. And dolphins are very fun. I've seen pictures videos of dolphins looking in the mirror for the first time until they get. They have the capacity to recognize. They go, oh, that's me, and then you'll see them like, oh, checking themselves. Gee, oh yeah, I look good. a little diversion in the morning. I even put a little chocolate in my latte this morning when I made it. I guess I'll let that go now. But I'm hoping this is becoming clear to you guys. We're so identified with the one trying to become enlightened that we don't realize that that's the biggest obstacle. It is simply the belief that there exists something other than the one and only self that reinterprets everything that's being experienced. And so it appears as though the whole world is separate from you. As Muji likes to say, thumb, tiny little thing, but if you hold it up, your thumb can block out the entire sun. Just this one little thing can shift the whole perception so the world looks different. And the beauty is you don't have to go out and fix every little thing out here. All you have to do is come back here and clean the lens. Oh my God, there's nobody there. This is the self speaking. Who else is speaking? It's the self that's hearing. It's you. It's you. Okay. Boy, I got real far away from your question there, Daryl. I hope that was worth it. have a great deal of love for Christ, just an enormous amount of love for Christ. As does my teacher, Muji. His first big spiritual breakthrough was with a Christian mystic. It just really opened his heart. Right? And when he went to Papaji, who would eventually be his master, that was his question to him. How do I want to know God? Right? And Papaji's response was, to know God, you must vanish. Sorry about this. One second. Oh, nobody wants to listen to those noises. So, I was kind, and I muted myself. Ooh, okay. Barb writes stories. Can I be God? And can there also be a part of my human self that feels arrogant about this realization? Guess that explains it. I'm just the being. You see what I mean, though? It feels wrong. Right? I meant to say the supreme being. Yes, and there are people that will say that they get a glimpse into what we're talking about here. But because they haven't gone the whole way, they haven't gone through the whole process of dismantling the human sense of identity, the false sense of identity, they kind of grab on to the I am God thing, and it ends up being the now inflated human ego being saying I am God, right? And it is true and it's not true. Right? The reality of everyone is we simply are all the supreme reality that has been named God in a variety of cultures and is, hold on a second, and then gets appropriated by culture and becomes a being that's separate and the whole deal. Okay? So as we spiritually mature and realize that the word God is pointing to something much bigger than that, it does become, oh, this is the essence of all things. God, simply a word for the supreme beingness, the supreme, the essence of all. Yeah. Now, when you use that and say, I am God, especially in the Western culture, I wouldn't recommend it. It's going to be completely misinterpreted. And you're right to recognize that, there's also something that feels arrogant about that. Right, okay. Well, obviously, God, the ultimate, absolute reality, does not feel arrogant about anything. Why arrogant? Compared to what? I am arrogant. Compared to what? I'm all there is. I am simply one. Arrogance, humility, they don't enter into the picture. I just am. And so, yes, the sense of the separate self, right, feels horrible about itself mostly, right? It's full of shame and guilt, and all of a sudden it gets this idea that, I'm God, so now I can be great. And the same, that same ego now going, I'm so horrible. I'm great. I'm same guy. If you recognize that, you see, oh right, there's just something here that used to feel shame, feel jealousy. It feels all of these qualities. Those are all the qualities of the false sense of self. They're not the quality. Does God feel arrogant? Does God get offended? Oh, God, that's terrible. Why did you do that? You hurt me. I wanted you to obey my commandments. I once saw a cartoon somebody had made about we'd made this incredible space probe to travel to the center of the universe to find God. And it took like 30, 40 years for it to get there. So in the beginning, all the young scientists, when it finally gets there, they're all these old gray people talking to the God, the creator of the universe. What do you have to impart to us? And God says, I don't want any of you touching your weenie. And they went, what? Yeah, boys, kissing boys? No, no, no. And they went, wait a minute, are we talking to the right guy? This is the creator of the entire universe, the incredible complexity and beauty and subtlety. And it's like, are we talking to the right guy? It was so graphic and so beautiful. It was just it was hysterical to think that we would get to the essence of the universe and it would be worried about who you kissed and offended, right? Yeah. But what happens when the ego appropriates the name God, says, I speak for God. I'm not God, but I speak for God. What's the difference, right? My interpretation of the Bible is the right interpretation, inspired by God. I'm just doing what God says in His Word, right? Well, yeah, good luck with that. So, right, remember, it's all words. We're trying to get to the truth, and the truth is one. The truth is that the manifestation, everything that appears, which is in constant transformation, isn't it? I mean, nothing here is static. This cup here isn't static. At this level of perception, it is. And the relationship between this bundle of energy and this bundle of energy is such that I can't put my finger through it, right? But it's not a thing. It's a functioning. Things that are just moving constantly at every single level of existence. So there's nothing static, right? Everything depends on something else. That's the nature of everything that appears of the manifest world. It does not have a self-existent point of reference in the manifestation. The belief that it does is what we call the person. Oh, this is the point of reference. I'm the point of reference. The ego is the point of reference, and this is what it means and all that. The fact is, the real point of reference is the essence, which is not a form. It does not take a shape. It has no boundaries. It doesn't exist in time. It has no limits. It is beyond infinite because it has no dimensions. Space and time don't apply. That is the essence, the point of reference from which everything else draws its existence. But if you look closely, really closely, you find that its existence is just appearance. That there's no thing actually there. Just a constant transformation of this thing we call energy. What it really is a constant self-modulation of consciousness. Consciousness being this multidimensional screen on which, and of which, everything appears. And the ultimate seer of it is the absolute, which is beyond even consciousness. But that alone is the only true experiencer. That's why I can point you to it, because since it is the only experiencer, and I think I'll have unanimous agreement with everyone here when I ask, is it not you who is experiencing? You are having experience, right? Well then, you must be that. Because it's the only thing that experiences. It's the only real knowing. The only real awareness. The only thing that actually is. And since you're hearing my words, it must be you. Simple and logical, isn't it? Yep, you're it. Call it God. You can say, I am God. But the next time you're at some little event where you have to put one of those name tags on that says, hello, my name is, don't put God. Don't put I am. Just put Barb. It's good for now. That's also you. JC. Great afternoon. Great afternoon to you. Ida, she's got a little party popper emoji there, and at first glance it looked like a slice of pizza. Maybe I'm hungry. No, I'm not actually. But it's a heart with a slice of pizza. I love. Oh, I see. It's a party. Liza, are there similarities between the Christ teachings and the Bhagavad Gita? Yeah, of course there are. If you regard Christ as a master, and Krishna, who definitely was a master, there's going to be similarities. Remember, there's the essence that is truth, right? And truth, because it has no limits, it has no particular shape or content, it has no defining characteristics, it is absolutely empty of all that, infinite in nature. That's the truth. It means that the truth can appear in any form. It doesn't matter what form it takes. And it will appear in any form. It appears in the form relevant to the culture, the time, the people, the states of mind. So it'll appear as a Krishna in ancient India. It'll appear in a Christ in the Mesopotamian area. It'll appear as a Ramana. Right? It'll appear as a Buddha. It'll appear. The thing that's actually appearing, while to our limited sense appears to be a teacher teaching something, what it really is, truth has put on a costume to appear in a particular time, in a particular way that will meet your need. That's the wonder of it. Because the truth is love. It's pure love. And so it will appear in whatever form you need it to, until you realize that it and you are one, and you recognize that you are the formless, and that this is the form you happen to be taking, and now that form becomes the vehicle through the truth, for the truth of who you are to express itself. It becomes the costume that it's wearing, and nothing more. And you love the costume. You use the costume. Costume's got all sorts of great things that it can do. You love it. You take care of it. You feed it well. It has family. It has relationships. It has all of these things available to it. It's got things that it can do really well, things that it does horribly, things that it's independent on, things that it needs others for. All of that is part of the experience, and yet through that shines the reality. It speaks. Reality speaks through it. This is what the true wisdom is. That's what the word avatar refers to which is, it has a very different meaning than it does here. We're not talking about your character on the screen while you're playing the game. With this, here's the character, and I'm manipulating it from the back. It's not that at all. It's the truth, speaking the truth to the truth that is ready to hear, which is all of you. Or you wouldn't be here. Right? And so Christ spoke in his way, Krishna spoke in his way, Rama in his way, Shankara in his way, all of the sages, all of the Buddhas, Shakyamuni Buddha was just the last one. Siddhartha was the last one. So far, last in a series. 7 of them they've traced that they recognize in Buddhism. All the saints, the sages, the awakened beings, the enlightened beings, many of which you may meet every day and not know it, because the costume isn't important. The trappings aren't important. Yeah. So if you're looking for somebody, sitting up on a big chair wearing orange with a crowd of people around him, if you think that's what it is, you're going to be deceived and taken advantage of, because it's not what it is. It can appear that way, but it can also appear as just some guy meditating in a cave. It can be some guy at, just a regular, what appears to be just a regular person. And you can tell if the teachings are, if they have that, the golden vibe to it. And how do you know it's got the golden vibe to it? Because it's in you. Because you're hearing them speak about yourself. Talk about them. I'm not here talking about me. I'm talking about you. Talk about us. Talking about we. Everything applies equally to all of us. We have different stages of awakening, which only means different stages in which consciousness is pulling away from the identification with the form, and is standing completely revealed to itself, and the process itself is glorious. And so in all the teachings of the great teachers, there's the pure truth, the pure, absolute, non-dual, right to the point truth. Oftentimes you'll see the stuff that's just pure non-duality, pure Vedanta, just absolutely precise, absolutely unyielding, relentless, right, in the purity of the reasoning behind it. At the same time, there'll be this incredible compassion and love, patience, willingness to just stay with somebody as long as it takes for them to for that needle to move a little bit. When there's sincerity. If there's no sincerity, if it's just arrogance, it's boring, you don't want to have anything to do with them, that's not the story though. Right? And all of these folks who have had a place in history and have lasted have also contributed to the moral and ethical landscape in which they walk. Christ's teaching addressed the issue of classism. He was always critical of the elite. He was critical of greed. Never justified it. That the accumulation of wealth was not in harmony with the worship of God. Stuff the power elite do not want to hear, so they kind of phase that out, and they have a different kind of gospel. But he addressed the moral issues. Buddha addressed the moral issues. You see, a lot of his sutras are concerning how to be with others, how to have a society that's civilized and will survive, that isn't barbaric and feeding on each other, that's equitable and just. All the great teachers have done that. If they have that, if they occupy that kind of a place in the culture, which many of them do. So they serve all those roles simultaneously, as do you. Yeah? Think of yourself as a baby Buddha. I'm just a little bit baby Buddha. Still holding the hands of the big Buddha, and walking towards your own awakening. And the truth will show up for you. With your sincerity, the truth shows up. It's called grace, and it shows up with the right face, the right voice, the right language, the thing that resonates with you. If you find that to be the case, pay attention. I do recommend that people do focus attention. I find a lot of people on the spiritual path are kind of dabblers. Right? Oh yeah, the Christian mystics, and I'm reading Balyani, and I'm reading Rupert Spira, and I read Juchi, and I'm also reading. Oh, and I listen to Muji, and I listen to this Zen. And great, right? No teacher is ever going to tell you don't do that. But it can also be a way of avoiding your own deep commitment to the path that you're going to walk on. So, there's not a lot, but there's a few that won't be contradictory to the essential message that you're drawn to. But of them all, just say, okay, this is the one I'm going to just focus on. Right? And you listen to the other ones, but kind of make a focal point. So that, because all of the teachers, they'll give you different ways of approaching it, different meditations, different exercises, and the like. Right? And you can get very lost. Well, should I do this or should I do that? And I get questions about that all the time. But, okay, he said I should do this. Who said this? Simple as this. Okay, which one have you chosen to be your teacher? Doesn't have to be forever. Right? But where are you going to focus? Right? So then do those. Right? Take their advice. If you can get in touch with them and get personal, something personal for you, do so. You can get to a live satsang or something. My experience with my own teacher, even though most of the time my experience is just through live satsangs with the broadcast through the Sahajam Express or the videos on YouTube. My feeling is always he's speaking to me. I'll listen and suddenly, it happened this morning. It was like I think it was about 8 words he said. And I went, I stopped it. I went, that's it. He's speaking to me. This is my focus right now. So, I don't know how I got off onto that. I'm so far away from it now, I don't know where to go. So we'll stop there. Hello, Nay. Oh, my lovely Nay. I just love all the people that are in my class. Oh, I just can't tell you guys. Audrey said, so the conditioning, so is the conditioning our cocoon that we build as a defense mechanism? Yeah. Basically, conditioning, we say we built it. But it's really important to note that the creating of the conditioning is done by the nervous system all by itself. You've got nothing to do with it. You get aware of it later. As we get older, a sense of identity comes online, which is also, all sorts of weird noises and sounds coming out of me today, which is also our initial sense of identity is also a creation of the nervous system. And what conditioning is simply the way the nervous system of a human being adapts itself to the environment in such a way that it can survive. And we humans are very adaptable. Right? So that conditioning becomes the world in which we live. Because my sense of identity is, I don't, until later on, if in my life I'm blessed enough to encounter teaching like this, and even some of the personal development stuff begin to point towards this, that I am not essentially my conditioning. I mean, at first it just feels like I can change my conditioning, but even it can only come from a place that's standing apart from it, even though there's not a recognition yet that it's not actually who you are. But yeah, that conditioning, this is who I think I am. This is how I feel. This is how I believe. This is what I know. This is what I'm like. These are my desires. All of these things that have been simply the way the nervous system adapted to the environment, right? No choice, no agency in there at all. Now there's something that becomes aware of that identity, right? Who I believe myself to be, and all the conditioning, and the force of habit within the nervous system of that conditioning, that's my cocoon. That's the self-made prison. That shapes the perception and creates the world which I believe to be the world as it exists separate from me. I believe it to be objective rather than subjective. And the belief that it is objective rather than subjective, that's the prison. Once you see through that, then even though this is all still here, you're bumping up against conditioning, you recognize that it's not the truth. It's completely subjective. And at this point, the essence, the conscious, the sense I am is on its way back home. And within the conditioning, this development is happening, and then influencing the conditioning. So the butterfly metaphor does begin to fall apart. But the fact that inside the cocoon, or this prison of our subjective belief about the world and thinking it's objective, right, is kind of the caterpillar inside here that has to dissolve. The caterpillar is kind of the sense of identity there, right? Like the caterpillar would, its idea of the perfect world would be just green leaves, no predators, no leaves separated so it doesn't fall. For us, a perfect world is however our identity sees it. I'm going to be rich and beautiful and have all these kinds of things. These are all how the caterpillar would envision the perfect world, because it doesn't know who it really is. It has no idea where it's headed. But the caterpillar begins to dissolve. Turns into this big mush. and within the mush, though, is the essence of the transformation that's taking place. So the metaphor works to a point, but the conditioning is really mostly defensive, in that I've got to keep myself safe, and partially offensive. How do I get what I need? And for everybody, except in the most extreme cases, there's some degree of the real you that does get to get out and be expressed, that hasn't been suppressed. So does that answer the question for you, Audrey? She says, good to know you don't want us to be demure. No. No. I mean, absolutely not. You just want to take anything. You prove it. Anything that anybody tells you and offers it up and says this is the truth. First off, they tell you if they say this is the truth rather than what do you think? Look for yourself. But first, don't listen to them. But even then, any teacher says to you, look, right, and you have some idea what you think it might be. Right, look for yourself, because anything you take in as true will become your experience, not because it's real, but because you believe it to be true. I even wrote it down here. Again, Muji, my teacher, was talking to somebody and they said something, and it was similar to this kind of thing. And he said, I will admit that you have the power to make the words you speak true. The power we have is to make whatever we believe our lived experience. We can't make it reality because it's not. It's just a perception. But it creates the world when we believe that world is that world and objective to us, we live it as if it were true. We're literally creating our world. Again, I don't know how I got here, but here we are. Barb, it just feels like such a privilege to get experience being a woman and a mother. Finally, I feel this experience in all of its beauty and love myself for that. And this is the love we all have. Yes. You know, the idea of God and heaven and like, and even the non-dual idea people get of this, it's all an illusion. It's just this. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of like going, it's kind of boring. Is anybody got Netflix? I mean, what would it be without the expression of it? Right? What would love mean if there was no expression? What would music be if there were no songs? Yeah, potential for songs, but that's it. When you can see that the experience of being a woman or a man, being a mother or a father or a brother or an uncle, being a friend, being into what you do, right? To loving art, to loving nature, to loving your work, loving working with numbers, whatever it might be, that is love. Connect that love as the manifestation, as the appearance, not as an independent thing functioning in a world out there, but the very presence of love itself. And suddenly, you've turned the water into wine. This world is the self. The idea that it isn't is the only thing that obscures it. Miss Ney says, good question. I often think of conditioning like Russian dolls, and the more we awaken, layers are removed until you see that the layers have never been around you. The conditioning, the layers surround the idea you have of yourself. They've never surrounded you. It's been the identity confined within conditioning. You've always been here. I gotta turn this down. All of a sudden now I'm getting hot. Open up the sweater. Yeah. Sylvia, the Old Testament, when saying eye for eye, tooth for tooth, I just don't see how it can be seen as good. But it is the opposite of loving the enemies. Well, yeah, Jesus, his contradictions of his teachings to a lot of the sentiment in the Jewish Bible, we call the Old Testament, the Christians call the Old Testament, he contradicted it. But he was very clear to show how it didn't contradict the law, the ultimate law of Moses. But even went so far as to say all the law, all the commandments, everything, referring to all the books of the Pentateuch, all the Deuteronomy, Leviticus, all the things where all these laws were laid down, including the Ten Commandments. He said, all boil down to this: love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Love is the fulfilling of the law, period. If you love, you don't need to worry about the laws. You will fulfill them. And so, but even in the Old Testament, you'll see eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. But then you'll read where God says, I want mercy, not sacrifice. Right? And Christ criticized the elites, the Pharisees, the elites of his world by saying, you focus on the appearances, you focus on these extremes, you focus on these infractions, and you ignore the weightier matters of the law, mercy and justice. That's you can see why they didn't like him. He spoke truth to power, which is what the job of the spiritual being in any time, one of the functions, at least the prophets it was, and others as well. Speak truth to power. I can't remember the name of the prophet who went to David, right, to tell the king that, he told the king, I know what's brought all this misery to our land, because they were going through a famine, all sorts of nasty stuff were happening. I know who's behind it. And David said, "Who? I'll get him and I'll wipe him out." And he said, "You are speaking truth to power." All of the guards and everything went to jump on him, and David said, "Stop! He's a prophet. He's right. I did." And he went into repentance, a very severe repentance as well. But he paid a punishment. I mean, God killed his firstborn son. Yeah, the Old Testament guy, Yahweh, not a nice guy. Not a nice guy. Yeah, very interesting. But we're not here for mystical interpretations of the scriptures right this second. Christina says in 2 hours we only get warmed up. Let's see. I meant to mention yesterday that I see your cheetah in the back as a protector. Yeah. Well, it's actually a leopard. Yeah, it's actually a leopard. Yeah. But there's a bunny behind that. They're good buddies. They actually make my bed in the morning. I don't know how they do it, because they must really be able to jump high, because shoop, they'll be up to make the whole bed. Then when I decide, oh cool, they're making the bed for me and I don't bother anymore, they stop. Yeah, they won't let that happen to me. Yeah, no. You're not going to take us for granted. Yeah. Let's see. Hello, Ella. And there's Patricia. And sounds like Jordan Peterson. You recognize, yes, that's exactly who it was. Yeah. Yes, a very disturbed individual, actually. Unfortunately, very, very influential. Is it appropriate to refer to oneself as God? Not in the Western culture. I would say no. Don't do it. Yeah, I never do it. I say I am God. When I take 10 minutes and explain all the details as to why it's true, right? Okay, but don't do it. Yeah, don't do it. It will do more harm than good. It'll just create more confusion, because that's simply, in the West, God refers to the Christian or Jewish God, right? And Allah is different. You say Allah here, and that has a completely different meaning than obviously it does in the Middle West or in the Muslim communities here. But when we say God here, that means, the God of bombast, right? The God who had to basically did a blood sacrifice of his son to himself in order to undo a penalty that he had inflicted, because we did what he basically, we used the facility he wanted us to use, namely curiosity and free will, and then did what he didn't want us to do, but yet set it up perfectly so we would. And it was such a horrible thing that we did that, something's going to have to satisfy my bloodlust, and they're just, they're not pure enough, so I'll kill my own son. That'll do it. Now I'm satisfied. Yeah. And the whole story is actually quite mad. Yeah, but anyway. So no, don't. Don't. When you're at events, hello, my name is Daryl. Stick with Daryl. Yeah, I stick with GP. So, Ida says, Thomas, Muji's prayer. Muji's prayer. Oh, yes. the simplest one. Lord, purge me of ego, replace me with you. That's my prayer. It should be everybody's prayer who has come to the level of spiritual maturity that they realize that it is that what we're really doing is not improving ourselves, but freeing the sense of ourselves from everything it's not. We are not. Yeah. Hello, Jonas. Barb says, yes, I feel the inflation of the ego, but I feel self-love too. Yes, I feel the ego is still very wounded, but the glimpse of the real me is here. Yes, perfectly. Yes, that's exactly, you're going to see them both, right? You're going to see them both. And yeah, the ego is the sense of identity that has arisen out of the wounding that we all experience. That wounding creates the ego in compensation. But when we go back to that wounding with compassion and love, we heal the wounding. A much more sattvic, refined, nuanced, loving character emerges. But then ultimately we see that that character is also just, it's now new and it's improved, but it's not actually who I am. And you can get a glimpse of it like right now. Say, I feel the inflation of the ego. I feel self-love too. So what is it that's aware of both simultaneously and doesn't even have an issue with either? It's not taking sides. What's that? What is it that sees, I feel my ego is still very wounded and the glimpse of me is here. Who sees the glimpse? Who sees the wounding? Who sees the inflation? Who sees the love? Notice there's something else there. That's the real you. That's not been touched by any of this. Out of which all the love is coming. All of which all the healing is coming. The compassion towards, you say, the ego is still very wounded. There's no hatred towards the ego in that, is there? It's just, wow, it's wounded. It's a rescue dog. It's been beat up. Right? There's this, the ego taking the hits so that the real innocence doesn't ever get touched. Give me one quick second here. I have to send something. Do this. As I pointed out earlier, I thought it might get out of here earlier, but then Christina says to me, gee, ain't gonna happen. And here we are. Why? Because even though my body is weak right now and tired and 73 years old, this energy is just unlimited. We'll see if I collapse when it's over. It does happen every now and then. The body says, okay, my turn. All right. Oh, it's going to be a big one. Hold on. Okay. Audrey said, yeah, that answers the question, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Happy to be working with you too, by the way. I'm very happy to be working with you. Audrey is the one who has volunteered. I said it before, didn't I? No. Still great. Look, all this time later, I'm still grateful. Fatima, oh no, I missed the beginning. Hi everyone, happy Easter from Slovakia with my matcha latte. Another fan of lattes. Very good. Tried matcha though. Doesn't really work. I've not tried it in a latte though. Do you use like almond or oat milk or cow's milk? What do you use in your lattes? Yeah. Little cultural exchange here. Taby, oh, haven't seen you in a while, my friend. GP, make me realize the truth which I am. I'm so tired of being seeker. What is the place? Law of attraction, law of oneness, many things happen in my life which I never think of, and many things which I wish to attract have not been realized. So am I applying it right, or is this law of attraction, law of ego? Can you address this confusion? Justice is eye for eye, hand for hand. How can one offer another cheek if someone hit your other side of the cheek? Well, it's not something you do right away. We've all been trained into self-defense. Our world is based on countries defending themselves, defending their borders, and that sort of thing. So as you can see, it's a tall order. Christ isn't asking for perfection. He's saying, look. Loving your neighbor has a much higher chance of bringing heaven to earth than defending against your neighbor. I think that's really self-evident. Loving your neighbor, loving your enemies, that's a high bar. Right? It's hard to do. Especially when your enemies are cruel, barbaric, merciless, don't care. How do you love them? Well, you have to learn how. Right? It's not, how do I do it? Oh, I don't know how. Right? It becomes a path that you follow. Right? That, okay, this teacher says this will lead you there. Right? Well, then I follow. For you, Tavi, I would say, pick a teacher and follow him. Right? Yeah, tired of being a seeker. Good. Really, really good. So now, take a step back. Right? Make me realize the truth which I am. Well, I can give you the food. I can show you how to chew it. Right? You have to swallow it. Once you swallow it, you don't have to worry about this at all. It'll take care of everything. Right? But once you swallow it, grace itself will do the rest. But notice that your heart, despite the fact there's all sorts of stuff that are going on, a lot of pain and suffering gone through your life, my friend. A lot you're feeling right now. And something in you knows that there's a truth beyond this. Right? Listening to me, you're going, it feels true. Right? And I'm so tired of seeking the truth. I'm exhausted. Yeah, good. Now, put your attention on the simple fact that you're aware of the seeker. The seeker is an energy pattern that's happening. Can you take your attention, turn it around, and bring it back and put it on that which is aware of the seeker? This is the key. We don't do this. How do we get out of being the seeker? Okay, who's the I? We don't put attention on the I. We don't put attention on the experiencer. It's all on the experience. Right? Because we think, how do I get out of suffering? I've got to change all of this. Right? Well, on this path, changing this is seen to be, first off, a waste of time, because it's so complex and interrelated that nobody can change it. Nobody can go in and make all the adjustments. Going back as far in time in all directions that made this moment happen. As Nisargadatta once said, everything causes everything. You can't manipulate it to make it do what you want. That's the fallacy of the law of attraction. It's based on a very tiny little view of things, which is the ego, and it really is something that, while there is some truth in it. There's a grain of truth in it. What you believe manifests as your reality. You can make your your belief. You have the power to make your belief the lived experience as if it was the truth. Taking that tidbit, instead of going, then who am I that can do this and what is the truth? Go, oh look, I can make whatever I want. And that idea plants itself in an already completely mind-oriented, ego-oriented, materialistic culture, and what happens? Oh, I can get whatever I want. The genie of the universe gives it to me. It's like, but even Neil Donald Walsh, the guy who wrote Conversations with God, made the comment. He said, I watched The Secret, and he said, well, and he said, yeah, but he said, what about compassion? About loving your neighbor? What about taking care of others? None of that was there. It was all about getting what you want. Right? Made it very attractive. Everybody was into it, and I actually know many of my friends were teachers on that movie, The Secret, and most of them go, we really don't like the way it came out. It really distorts what it looks like, and these are very successful people. So let go of trying to attract things into your life, because again, it's just a metaphysical way of trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, rather than a physical way. But the intention is the same. Who's the I? Who's the I that's tired of being a seeker? Or that's aware of the seeker? That you can even say, talk about the seeker. If you're talking about the seeker, it means it's something you're looking at. It's an energy pattern that you are aware of. Who are you? This is how I can make you realize the truth, which you are. You have to be willing to let go of what you're not. Yeah. And that's where we run into the thing. And choose a teacher and stick with it. It's an advice that as I got to this point in my life, I realized that there are those that I think are real teachers, those that I think are not. But those that are, pick one, stick with it. Right? So that you have a focal point. So you're not trying to figure all this out yourself. Well, this one sounds different than this one. And was this the right exercise? Should I be doing this? Should I be meditating? Should I be allowing? Should I be focusing? Pick one. It's kind of like, a partner in a monogamous society. Pick one. Just one. And I don't know how polygamous societies works. Believe me, one's enough. One partner, that's plenty. It's all I could possibly handle. Ms. Nay, hey G, in class, I think it was last week, you spoke about how the nervous system can block certain things people from our experience to keep us safe. Could you touch on that again, please? And how it relates to awakening. Well, as you awakening means the sense of I is becoming free of identification with conditioning. That identification being the illusion of a separate self that somehow is trying to make its life better, improve itself, or not, or just accepting where it is. That's where all the shame is, that's where the guilt, all the arrogance. It's all in the identity, and awakening is simply meaning you, the actual real consciousness, is recognizing that that isn't you, that the character in the dream that you believed yourself to be isn't you. It's a gradual process. There are times of great glimpses, but most of the time it's a gradual process. As that happens, you'll begin to see the human experience differently, because you're not going to see it through the limited eyes of the separate self. The separate self sees itself as this body, that's it, I'm contained in here, I'm autonomous, it's just me. As the sense of I becomes more expansive, it's no longer I am this or that, but just I am. You begin to see that what we are identified with, this form, is not a solid thing, but quite fluid energy. And it's interacting with energy all the time. And right here is a particular concentration of energy, but there's another concentration of energy. And from the perspective of the senses, they're two separate things. From the perspective of the identity, they're believed to be two separate entities. As that you come away, you begin to realize they're not. They're different flows of exactly the same thing. And so they're constantly interacting with one another. There is no disconnect between them. You see a tree here and a tree, that way, and you're completely unaware of the root system, right? That it's been discovered that the trees actually talk to each other. If one tree is sick, some of the other trees will be sending it nutriments. There's a mycelium connected all over the planet, and so you begin to realize that the banyan tree. I don't know if you know the banyan. They're beautiful trees. I think they're the only tree where they root by a branch. It's kind of like a branch. It comes out of a branch down to the ground and roots that way. Not like they spread out this way. They spread out this way and reroute. And I think it's like a couple square miles is this one banyan tree forest, which is in fact one tree. It looks like a forest, but it's one tree. So we have a concept of being separate, but no separation actually exists. Right? So as you awaken to just the pure I am, the concepts and ideas, the perspective of the world we live in shifts, begins to change, because you're no longer seeing it exclusively through the eyes of the sense of a separate self. You are seeing it increasingly through the eyes of infinite being, which ultimately sees only itself. Nay. Oh, look, I love you. You're so good. Everybody loves. Everybody. I just love the Sangha that has grown up. This group of people. I have the most wonderful folks, and I couldn't be happier. Anyway, how can things like Kundalini awakening happen before we're ready for it? If the body doesn't feel it's safe to let it happen, or is it we just believe it's unsafe because it's unfamiliar? A loving leopard. Yes, very loving leopard. We get forced into all sorts of things. We want to have experiences. The Kundalini awakening, let me be blunt, it is not awakening. There's no transformation of the sense of I. Awakening is only the sense of I recognizing that it is not the body, it's not its conditioning, it's not all the things that you believed it to be. It's a gradual process. There could be sudden leaps out of it into a bigger view. That alone is awakening. That's what Buddha meant by the awakened one. That's what awakening means. The word self-realization, that's what it means. Self-realization. We have all sorts of experiences here. Some are incredible, right? Magnificent, seeing angels and astral projection and disembodied beings and all sorts of things. Had an experience kind of like that during the level 3 meeting of EFT, when we're working with an energy that didn't belong to the to Raham, a woman in the class, and she recognized that it wasn't her, and I recognized, and we had a little conversation with it. Finally, it dissipated. So all sorts of interesting things can take place in this field. Happens all the time. People with have plant medicine kind of things. We have shifts in our perception that kind of wig us out, and like we go into altered states at a soccer game or something. It's happening constantly. And the goal of what is called the Kundalini awakening, which, the word Kundalini simply means coiled snake. That's what it means. It's the coiled snake. It is a symbol of awakening because the snake sheds its skin. And you'll see it in the pictures, two snakes wrapped around the center line of the chakras, illustrating that this is an awakening from unconsciousness to consciousness. That is not an experience. That is a shift in the one having the experience. So the Kundalini awakening is an intense emotional experience that can be forced. I've seen it, abreactions, a period of time where people thought that the way to release a trauma is you had to relive the trauma. Back at that particular time, I did a few of those. There was a catharsis and an exhaustion that at the time made it feel as if something had happened, but nothing had happened. And in fact, the cure was as traumatic as the original trauma itself. And I've all the Kundalini awakening experiences that have come to my attention, maybe because I deal with people like that, it has not been positive. Yet, because they believe so much that it's supposed to be important, that even though their lives they're struggling with everything, they don't want to let it go. Right. It's not the awakening. It is just an intense experience. And even Nisargadatta said, do not mistake an extraordinary experience for the awakening. It's not what it is. It's not an experience. It can be attended by some emotional outbursts and the like. Some things, because it can be a very sudden shift in view. But when all the emotional stuff settles, it's the awakening that remains. I do remember, 20 years ago now, maybe, working with the Zen master, that I had, it was one of the definitive awakenings that freed me of the seeker in that sense of it. It was an extraordinary experience. It was very big, very insightful, and had a huge emotional impact on me. And for a while after that, because the emotional impact wasn't there anymore, and my regular life was here bugging me, I thought I had to get back to it. Okay, back to it. After a while, just out of earnestness and sincerity, I began to realize that while the bliss of the moment was no longer there, that such a fundamental transformation had occurred that had never left. The wisdom that I impart of that which is aware of both sides, that neither side is the truth. This capacity for just the flowing through all the opposites, but never as one of the opposites. That realized that had been installed in that day and never left. But I didn't even realize it because I'm out chasing the bliss. And finally when I let go of it, it's like, I happened to notice that everything in my life had changed. My teaching had changed, my work, everything I was doing was different. And I went, wow. That's what opened the door to what became inner reconciliation. Kind of discovering the essence of how the nervous system works, what conditioning is, trauma, how it separates, all came because of this essential transformation that had happened, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it. Yeah, I'm still out. Yeah, I'm still out. What happened? Because it was overwhelming. It's just incredibly wonderful, blissful experience. Just, I'm just in heaven. I'm in heaven, and suddenly it's gone. Right? It was just an experience. It wasn't the substance. But I was, at that point, there was enough maturity that I could find the actual substance, which brought me to peace with all the emotional upheaval that was going on, and led to allowing and reconciliation and all of that, so that we didn't seek to get out of the trouble. This wasn't about getting out of the trouble. This was about embracing your humanness. And that is the real enlightenment that is not it's not a happening, it's not an event, it's not an experience. The experiencer can't be experienced. If you can experience it, it's obviously not you. It's something appearing to you. Who are you? That's the question. Audrey says you don't do anything on 10 minutes unless under duress. Yes. She gave me the assignment of doing 10-minute videos about a certain subject that she could then use to make shorts and stuff out of, to just help me, because I just can't do it anymore. Although I do have to say, technology gods, the last couple of weeks, in my classes and here, no technology issues. I got this new thing, and it's set up, it's like I can set up now in just a couple of minutes. It's like, oh, technology gods, I have finally earned their mercy. I guess I sacrificed enough little furry animals and danced, waved the chicken, chanted and the like. So they're finally smiling on me. Miss Nay is sending me healing vibes. Thank you, Nay. Lindsay, infinite gratitude for your teaching. Oh, thank you, Lindsay. Infinite gratitude for you. Christina, gee, all this love can't be contained in under 2 hours. Oh. Thank you. DP, hello from India, sir. Hello to you. Must be late out there. I guess not that bad, since I starting earlier, yeah. JC, I had the privilege of feeling everything nothingness, where I felt completely euphoric. Then the following day my mind was looking for contrast. How do we honor the contrast of being an unlimited being in a limited body? What a beautiful question, Jay. What a beautiful question. Yeah. Here's what I would say. Rumi's poem comes to mind. He said, "The power that brought me here must bring me home." You were there. You saw the everything, nothing. There are no words to describe it. It is everything, it is nothing, it is not everything or nothing. It's indescribable. You had the privilege, and it is. Now, did you earn that privilege? Did you sign up for it? Did you make your final payment on it? No, it was a gift. Here, Jay. Grace. Pure love. So, and the reaction to that was the sense of euphoria. Now, the feeling, the seeing of the emptiness, nothingness, is an experience. Subtle, for sure. Genuine, for sure. Right? But still being perceived. Still on the screen, you might say. And yes, the reaction, piercing through the system, utter euphoria. Oh my God, overwhelming. Well then, Maya's back. Right? Hello, I'm back. Mind, you're not going without me, are you? Come on. Let's look at the contrast. What do we do? Your mind wants to find a way to honor the contrast and be the unlimited being in the limited body. You don't need your mind to do that. The very same grace that showed you the everything, nothingness, with which there was a reaction of euphoria, that very same grace will do the rest. What you do is step back and say, there is contrast. There is the mind attempting to form relationship with the contrast in which it's got an important role. We're going to have to figure out how are we going to be with this? How am I going to be the unlimited being in this limited body? All mind. Dismiss it. There is the contrast. There is the experience of the limited body. And it's only experience. You're not actually in it. It's just the vehicle of expression appearing to you. So is not the sense of an unlimited being, the mind, the experience of the limited body, are they not all being perceived? What's perceiving them? Yeah. See, the question is an attempt for Maya, the great illusion, to create a new identity that's had the experience of everything nothingness, right? Has seen an actual transformation take place that does not appear to be temporary. It appears that this has got some, it's going to hang around. It's just really a shift in perception. But within this new setting, the identity maker, Maya, pops up, shapeshifts, and now wants to become someone who had that experience and now wants to honor, create a new relationship with it. Don't fall for it. Stand back. That's Maya. How do I honor the contrast? I am. There's the contrast. Yeah. There's the sense of a limited body. There's the sense of an unlimited being. Unlimited. What is seeing all that? What recognizes there's contrast? If it's not something that is beyond and can perceive the whole gamut. What is it that recognizes limited and unlimited? What is it that recognizes being? Bring the privilege you've had now, needs the guidance, to bring the I into, or the one to which all of this is appearing, which doesn't need to know how to honor, can tell, actually is beyond limited and unlimited. Limits don't exist. Unlimited doesn't exist. It's just, it's beyond all categorizations and opposites. Let the I come home to its source. And bring that up again. Invite you to the self-inquiry Sangha, because this is subtle territory you're in now. Right? This is not the tricks of identity will become more subtle. Good news is, whatever they are, you're more subtle, because you can perceive them. But these now will be in the realm of what is not perceivable by the mind or the senses. It's this other dimension down there. It's the realm of the vasanas, of the repository consciousness is what it's referred to in Buddhism. It's something. This is the level of the spirits, you might say. It's like the disembodied and gross form as we know. It's the areas of the subtle bodies, you might say. So, that would be my invitation to you. Because it is the kind of thing you want some regular exposure to. Because at this point, you're not going to hear a lot that's going to speak to this. Yeah. So look at all the emojis I get from Ida. I've come to love emojis, yeah. Ida says, beautiful, thank you, GP. You're welcome. Hey, Ali. My buddy Ali. Another member of my EFT class that I absolutely love. God, I have great people. GP, I'm humbled and grateful. What are the signs of a true teacher? Does a teacher appear by himself or herself? I seek for guidance. Well, the signs are simple. First off, their message resonates with you. Right? There's truth. You can feel truth in it, at least enough that you're willing to explore it a bit more. The true teacher is not trying to get anything from you. Yes, they have to charge, ask for donations and things like that in order for that. Right? But if they're charging I'm going to give you the secret to enlightenment, it's only going to cost you $25,000, and I know of people tapping their programs at $25,000. It's like, no. Right? They're not trying to get rich. They're just trying to get by. Right? But they're not trying to get anything. They won't try to make you emotionally dependent. Right? They will never diminish you or demean you in any way. They'll never break you down. They will always raise you up. They will always support you. They will always encourage you. When they are critical, it comes in such a way you barely notice it. When they hit you upside the head with the cosmic 2x4, it'll feel like a pat. Because they're not out to do anything except wake you up. They want you to experience the joy of knowing who you are. That's it. That's their only motivation. So, you find those qualities, just follow them. Right? And if something feels off, question it. If they won't let you question it, you're out of there. Right? If they can engage you on on that level, then you're out of there. I've had people call me to task on something. Somebody I had said that animals don't suffer because, and I really meant psychological suffering, because there's not a sense of self there. Somebody really corrected me. They took real offense at that. And when I look back, I said, well, yeah, you're right. Animals in the wild don't suffer like we suffer. Animals in captivity do, because they are living a life that is completely contrary to their nature. And so, yeah, they do suffer. somebody else made about near-death, some comment I'd made about near-death experience. One, I think that it made a difference. She took offense at it, and both of those people just left. Right? I mean, that's what they said, and I actually made public what I'd come to see, and thanked them for it. But they were gone. They didn't just say, "Hey, wait, right? Let's get clear about this." Yeah, you're right. I need to clarify that more. I need to be clear about it. So they'll need to be able to engage with you, and just a rapport, right? Also, they can't be too serious if they're really serious. I even heard one guy who was a teacher, claimed to be enlightened, said, "You have to take this path to enlightenment deadly serious." I went, Jesus Christ. Like, okay, if that's the case, well, I'm left out of this party. Yeah, it's like, no, it's like, look around, like on the Zoom meetings and stuff, and I see, what's all the frowns? And sometimes there's pensive looks, you can get into it, but this is not a heavy path. This is not self-flagellation and, not eating and becoming emaciated. It's not like that. It's a path of awakening. It's seeing things as they are. It's enjoying your humanness without getting attached to it simply because it's not stable. It's changing. Right? That's it. So, don't try to hold on to something that's going to change. Just recognize it's going to change, and rejoice in its changing, and love its presence while it's there. It's really very simple. So, Nesa, so grateful to have you as a teacher, and yes, the teacher will also be very grateful for the students that they have. There's a lot or little. It is said that Bodhidharma, who was the 28th patriarch of Zen Buddhism in India, which means, it's kind of the big name, kind of the equivalent of the Dalai Lama in the world of Tibetan Buddhism. Well, he decided he was going to take Zen to China. Buddha was already in China, but this focus of sudden awakening Zen or Zen Buddhism, he took it to China. It's a great master. I mean, a really great master. According to the stories in Zen, he had one student, just one, and yet the entire lineage of all Zen lines throughout all of Asia, China, Japan, in Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan, Korea, Vietnam, they all derive from him. So nothing is known about him. It's only got a few things that are written. Nobody knows his history. It's fascinating. Right? So the teacher is very grateful for the students, because, well, you're not a teacher if there aren't any students. You make me a teacher. Audrey, agree, Miss Nay. Thank you, Audrey. Tavi says, there is spiritual complacency where YouTube and books are full of gurus. I read so many books, listen to so many gurus. What's the way to move up in spirituality? Yeah, pick one. Just pick one. Focus your attention. It's a spiritual buffet right now. Every different variation and every kind of sect and the Western versions of it and the mixing and matching of this and that. The teacher that you resonate with, go there. End of story. Simple. Very simple. Thank you, G. Love tea with G. What a beautiful time it always is. Gratitude and love to you. And to you too, Ava. Lovely. Tavi, I'm reaching 40. I have regrets of losing some good career opportunities, feeling a wastage of time, and constantly pursuing for truth, which I get see by some so-called Sufi. I'm feeling fed up, I am assuming. Yeah. Good. You're fed up. Good. Now you can stop searching, right? And find the truth. Right? The truth is in you. It's in you. All the teacher can do is point you back to you and help you see through all the things that aren't you, that we have falsely, erroneously identified as me. And that's where all the problems are. Because if I identify with it, it becomes my lived experience. We don't see it as an experience anymore. We call it reality. So as Muji said, let me pull this back here, because I sent it off to a friend of mine. I will admit that you have the power to make the words you speak true. That's the power you have. You have the power. Right? This isn't the law of attraction. Believe me. Right. So, yeah. Laser money makes your choice. That's what my music teacher used to tell me. Laser money makes your choice. Okay. Another soul I'm extremely grateful to. Savvy Stacker. I love you too, GP. Yeah. David, with deep thanks as always, G, for this gift of your presence. You're so welcome. Thank you so much, GP. You're very welcome, Jay. Very welcome. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Fatima, I have a secret crush on somebody. Oh, I love it. I love romance. I love love stories. Yeah. Okay. Little secret. I actually cry during love stories. It's so sweet. I do. I was born a hopeless romantic. Yeah. During the satsang, some voice suddenly told me, "You were never two." It was as if it was a voice from above. I had to write it down. That's the ego part. Yes. Now, don't think that means, oh, we're never two, that somehow, cue the violins, we're going to come together in some kind of way. But the romance between us humans is a manifestation of love, which is essentially one. So it's love expressed, and of course it's going to express this too. Right? Yeah. But our experience on the human level as the two, right, is going to be a mix of that, and it's also going to trigger things to come up in us, which is our defense against intimacy, which is, a sense of identity protecting itself. It doesn't want to be too exposed. So be patient, a step at a time. Don't immediately, at first, the blush is all over there. We don't just lay our guts out. I don't want you to hold back, but stay awake. Don't let it be the bliss of it, should it happen, distract you from the essential work, right? They're not mutually exclusive. This is not a path of a vow of celibacy. I wouldn't have made it this far if it was. It's not. It's a path that subsumes everything, brings everything into it, including this. But remember that even the experience of human love is unstable. It goes up and down. Our emotions are going to go up and down. We can't sustain a relationship just on the high. But we can develop the inner character and develop within the relationship the setting in which stuff can come up in a loving environment and be healed, and therefore deeper intimacy achieved, so that there can be this kind of recurring spring where you fall in love with each other all over again. You're hot for each other all over again. But that's only because you are constantly bringing that experience back to its essence, bring it back to its source, which is the oneness. That's the call from above, within. Doesn't. All the directions only apply to space. Right? This within is neither within nor without. It's none of the 10 directions. It's not up, it's not down. It doesn't exist in space or time. That was a nice little bow to put on it, isn't it? Nice. Okay. Well, I seem to have exhausted the questions and comments, and I have a feeling my body is not not as enthusiastic about this as I am. But poor thing, I do have to take care of it. I do treat it well. I recommend you all do the same. I feed it the best quality food I can afford. I take it to the gym. You know, I give it what it needs as much as I can, and it's been very good to me. It's been very good to me. So, on that note, everybody, endless love and pizza. Ida, thank you. Yes, I like that. I'm going to put that on my website. Welcome to the official site of Spiritual Teacher G. Endless light and pizza. Endless love and pizza. I should change that. Instead of buy me a coffee, buy me a pizza. Yeah, I do like pizza. Yeah. Just it's comfort intake. It's not healthy. It's not really food. Please don't try to live on it. But yeah, I do like an occasional slice of pizza, drippy and stuff. Anyway, all right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And on a day like this, a holiday, we can honor Christ for his gifts, knowing really very little about him, about the man himself. We can still honor, like that Chinese parable. When you're drinking of the water, remember the one who dug the well. Even they have no idea who it is. When it plants the tree, knowing that they will never sit in its shade. So we can honor the figure of Christ, right? And the love, the equality, the mercy, the unqualified love, the forgiveness that looks beyond all infractions. We can honor that, exemplified in a human being. And as he said, he who drinks of my mouth shall become as I am, and I shall be he or she. You can be that. In fact, you are that. You've always been that. That is what's been happening in your life. All we need to do is wake up to it. Love you all so much. I will see you next week. Namaste.